During the Second World War, soldiers faced conditions that would test the limits of any modern gear. Mud-choked fields, icy nights, monsoon rains and rugged terrain meant a torn ground sheet could ruin a night's sleep, soak equipment and even compromise an entire mission. And yet, amid all the chaos, certain units were issued ground sheets that seemed indestructible. They never tore, they never rotted, and they shed water in a way that left synthetic tarps looking flimsy by comparison. This was not the result of new materials or secret factories. It was a combination of ingenuity, chemistry and practical know-how that wartime engineers quietly perfected. Today, this forgotten method can still be recreated by survivalists, reenactors, and anyone who wants a ground sheet that works under the harshest conditions. The engineers discovered that the key to a durable ground sheet was treating the fibres rather than just coating the surface. Most modern tarps rely on a thin surface layer that peels or cracks after repeated folding or scraping across rough ground. World War II engineers took a different approach. They treated the cotton fibres themselves, saturating them with a mixture of boiled linseed oil, beeswax and plant resins that penetrated deep into the weave. This created a water-resistant barrier that stayed flexible under cold, heat and repeated stress. You know, the treatment wasn't merely cosmetic. It actually fundamentally changed the structure of the fibres, giving the fabric remarkable tensile strength. Soldiers reported that these sheets could be dragged across gravel, buried under snow, and even, well, repeatedly folded without showing signs of wear. Even after weeks of continuous use in wet conditions, water pooled on the surface rather than soaking through. Quite impressive, really. These days, if you try to replicate the method, you'll find it's a bit of a challenge. The exact techniques and materials, well, they're not always easy to come by, and modern substitutes don't always yield the same results. Still, enthusiasts and historians alike keep experimenting, hoping to match the resilience and water resistance of those original wartime fabrics. Applying this today is straightforward. You start with a heavy-duty cotton canvas. Then you heat the fabric gently, just to open up the fibres a bit. After that, you warm a mixture of boiled linseed oil and melted beeswax until it blends smoothly. Next, you brush the mixture onto the cloth, really pressing it in so it penetrates the fibres rather than just sitting on top. Once it's been treated, you allow it to cure in a ventilated space. A ground sheet prepared this way will resist punctures and tears far better than modern lightweight tarps, and you know it actually improves with age as the fibres continue to harden. The infusion process was enhanced by adding small amounts of pine resin, creating a durable, weatherproof weave. In certain European theatres, engineers discovered that adding pine resin to the oil and wax mixture dramatically increased durability. The resin acted like a natural bonding agent, filling microgaps between fibres and reducing water absorption even further. The result was a sheet that could be placed directly on snow mud or wet leaves without becoming saturated or losing shape. Military records from 1943 mention that these sheets remained taut and waterproof under fire and flood alike, which, well, speaks volumes about their practical reliability. Right, so After applying the mixture, it's crucial to let the ground sheet dry in a controlled environment. This helps prevent any cracking or uneven curing. Regular field maintenance, like brushing off dirt and checking for wear, keeps the sheet in good nick for longer use. Modern practitioners can replicate this by adding small amounts of softened pine rosin to the warmed mixture of oil and wax. You just apply the same infusion method, pressing the material into the fibres. Once cured, the resin helps the ground sheet maintain its integrity even under repeated folding and dragging across abrasive surfaces. The wartime method also involved controlled drying, which honestly contributed as much to durability as the treatment itself. It wasn't enough to simply coat or saturate the cloth. Engineers knew that improper drying would cause brittleness, cracking or, uneven absorption. Treated ground sheets were hung in warm, ventilated areas for several days, allowing the oils, waxes and resins to cure gradually. Slow curing ensured the fibres bonded without losing flexibility. Soldiers who used untreated or hastily dried sheets often reported cracking or holes forming after just a few nights, highlighting the importance of this final step. For modern survivalists, the lesson is clear. After infusing your cloth, hang it in a warm, dry, ventilated space for at least 48 to 72 hours. Avoid direct flames or high heat, which could make the fabric brittle. The slow curing process locks the treatment into the fibres and creates the legendary tear resistance that made these World War II sheets exceptional. So, this method isn't just a relic of the past. It's a testament to ingenuity that still holds value today. Whether you're preparing for the unexpected or just fascinated by history, understanding these techniques gives you a real edge. Thanks for joining me on this journey through time and resilience. The sheet's performance was enhanced by its flexibility and ability to be maintained in the field. Unlike modern synthetics that degrade silently under stress, the World War II method produced a sheet that could be repaired on the spot. A small scratch or puncture could be restored by reheating a tiny amount of wax and oil and rubbing it into the damaged area. Soldiers carried spare mixtures in small tins, allowing them to patch sheets without returning to base. This made the ground sheets not just durable, but also infinitely maintainable, a trait that, honestly, modern prefabricated tarps rarely match. Today, this makes the method ideal for long-term survival gear, bushcraft shelters and off-grid homesteads. A treated ground sheet can serve as a waterproof layer for tents, sleeping areas, or even temporary rain shelters. And a single sheet could also double as a poncho in emergencies or a cover for equipment during sudden downpours. Its versatility, combined with the durability of the fibres, is what made it a trusted tool on the front lines, and why it is still relevant in 2025. This forgotten method is honestly a reminder that the best survival gear often comes from practical ingenuity rather than modern convenience. Soldiers didn't have the luxury of choosing between dozens of lightweight synthetics. They had to rely on materials they could produce reliably, treat effectively, and maintain in the field. By understanding fibre structure, natural oils, resins, and curing techniques, World War II engineers created a ground sheet that was essentially indestructible under real-world conditions. For modern adventurers and history enthusiasts, reproducing this technique offers gear that not only works, but also teaches a profound lesson in material science and frontier ingenuity. If you want more forgotten military hacks, practical survival techniques, and historical insights that actually work in the field today, subscribe to In the Bigging. Share this guide with fellow history and bushcraft enthusiasts, and bring these time-tested skills back into practice.